Welcome to Looking For. Today, we are going to take some height, direction space to talk about the current topic, the colonization of the Moon and Mars. It's an old dream which was reserved for a long time to the great sagas of science fiction, to be able to live in space. From unattainable, this option seems more and more feasible over the decades. Today, to live on the Moon and then on Mars seem to be credible options. NASA, the American Space Agency, has even recently declared that humans will be able to live on the Moon within 10 years. A journey into the future that Looking For offers you to discover in preview. So get ready to discover the underside of this new interstellar home in creation. Our first step in this journey brings us nearly 248 miles from Earth aboard the International Space Station. Placed in orbit around the Earth in 1998, the station is the advanced lab for humanity in space. For more than 20 years now, 15 countries including the United States, Russia and France have been sending scientists to live in this unique collocation in the solar system. Recently, the Frenchman Thomas Pesquet made a second 6-month trip to this place with one of the best views of the Earth. Food, exercise, amenities, everything on board has been rethought to take into account the weightlessness, because once out of the Earth, the gravity that keeps our feet on the ground is almost non-existent. For example, to sleep, no need for a bed or even a pillow. You just need a light sleeping bag hanging on a wall so that the sleeper doesn't hit the walls of his room during his night. In general, astronauts' missions are planned for 6 months. It's thus necessary to keep enough food to last without the possibility of supplies over long periods. The same goes for the energy management of the station, which is used as a huge lab for scientific experiments. But the time of this space outpost is limited. The model on which is based the functioning of the station seems to come to an end. Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, announced that the country would leave the project from 2024. It's difficult to ask other partners in the project to continue to finance the ISS, especially since some of them are already targeting the Moon. Going to the Moon, it's not a first-time event. In 1969, NASA sent Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin to stretch their legs on the celestial body. With its Apollo program, NASA will send more than 10 astronauts to the Moon between 1969 and 1972. In 1972, the crew members of the Apollo 17 mission even spent nearly 3 days there. While the launcher which must bring them back on Earth waits in orbit, they live during this time in a lunar module directly on the ground. A starting point for the numerous outings they will make to discover the Moon on foot but also by rover. Nevertheless, for more than 50 years now, nobody has come back on this land, located at more than 239,000 miles from the Earth. A wait which should end during the middle of the decade. NASA, with the help of other space agencies, has launched a large-scale program called Artemis to reactivate the human space conquest. Programmed in several parts, Artemis must, at the horizon 2025-2026, bring again humans on the Moon for a stay of almost 1 week. They will have in charge to find the reserves of icy water detected in the south of the Moon and which will be essential for future installations in order to provide drinking water and also oxygen. The different parts of the Artemis mission aim to create a base near the Moon called Lunar Gateway, a new international space station which would be this time in the orbit of the Moon. It must serve as an advanced base to receive space rockets and future lunar expeditions. For this new mission, NASA has called on the private company SpaceX, owned by billionaire Elon Musk, for an important part, the HLS, short for Human Landing System. It's a variant of the famous Starship launcher. It is this HLS which will be used as a new lunar module during the time of exploration. At the end of the decade, expeditions of 21 days are even planned. At this moment, the installation of external modules is also planned. The lunar ground brought back by the previous expeditions is thus tested to know if it can be used for the development of agricultural cultures in the form of greenhouses. The scientists also consider the resistance of some animals, like fish, to the travel in space, with an objective to be able to set up breeding on the moon, which would solve the question of food autonomy. NASA is also betting on another technology to support its installation: 3D printing. The US agency has even recently signed a contract of more than $57 million with the technology company Icon. The goal is to finance research for the creation of a construction system by 3D printer directly on the moon. The Olympus project must begin its first test from 2026. The idea of building living and working places for astronauts with this technology is quite attractive. It also allows to avoid sending of too large loads of materials for classical constructions, but it remains subject to several factors. The first one being to know if the lunar ground, made up of a thick layer of dust, also called regolith, is a sufficient basic material to realize complete houses, and if so, these infrastructures will they be resistant enough? Because the moon is far from being an excellent place to settle down. It's necessary to face variations of temperatures of more than 300 degrees Celsius, cosmic radiations, and even meteorites which crash frequently. For the moment, NASA plans to settle on the south pole of the moon to benefit from two advantages. In addition to huge reserves of frozen water, the place is much more exposed to the sun. If the human activity came to be perpetuated and to develop, it would be necessary to find a source of energy to make it all work. Thus, nuclear energy has been chosen by NASA, which is looking to develop small power plants directly on the lunar soil. The industrial group Rolls-Royce revealed this Friday, March 17th, to have received nearly £3 million from the British Space Agency to develop small nuclear reactors for future lunar stations. The group expects a first reactor to be ready to be sent to the moon by 2029. In this objective of space conquest, other powers like Russia, India or China have also expressed their desire to establish a permanent human presence on the moon. For China, this project must begin with the installation between 2028 and 2035 of an international lunar research station and the sending of taikonauts in 2029. In the long term, the idea is to make the moon the back base to reach another objective: Mars. Since the beginning of the space conquest, the red planet has never stopped fascinating scientists. In cause, traces proving that there was liquid water, and therefore, perhaps life one day, on the surface of Mars. Today, Mars is a very arid planet, but that doesn't make some people despair to see mankind thriving there one day. This is notably the case of Elon Musk. The American billionaire wants to send the first man on Mars before 2030. Even crazier, he plans to have 1 million humans permanently on the planet by the end of the century. To achieve this, SpaceX is counting on its Starship launcher. In addition to being able to make the 7-month journey to land on Mars, the launcher will be converted once on site into a Martian base. The loads taken in the launcher and the use of local resources must then make it possible to do the rest. In this project to imagine life on Mars, Elon Musk is not alone. Architectural agencies propose 3D models of what could be our future in space. The agency Abiboo recently shared images of Nuwa, a self-sufficient city that could be built according to them from 2054. It's a futuristic cave city that would be built inside of a Martian cliff. In this place, protected from cosmic radiations, the city must be sustainable. Just like the line, the city of the future wanted by Saudi Arabia, everything would be included inside the city walls. For more information of this another crazy wheel for the future housing, I advise you to watch my video on NEOM. I put this video in the description just below. Housing, school or workplaces, in Nuwa, everything would be combined together. In total, the city could accommodate 250,000 residents. It would be the capital of a cluster of 5 cities that will allow 1 million people to make live the human species outside the Earth. But this scenario is more of a dream than a reality at the moment. Indeed, the red planet remains still largely unknown. Since 2020, scientists have been recording important data on our neighboring planets thanks to Perseverance, a small robot that NASA has succeeded to land on Mars. A mission to bring back rock samples is planned for 2033. It remains to be seen if Elon Musk and his flagship SpaceX, or other private players, can accelerate this race to the stars. A competition that also raises a number of questions. The first one concerns the impact of the environment of such an expanse of energy to conquer the space. Indeed, the launch of a space rocket emits on average 100 times more carbon dioxide per passenger than a long-distance flight, as Eloise Murray reminds us, professor of physical geography, in the Guardian newspaper. A significant cause of air pollution at a time of increasing tests and launches. Another danger, space pollution. With all these projects, space debris will increase. Without control on it, they could become projectiles able to damage or destroy satellites or the next space rockets launched from the Earth. This raises the question of who owns this space debris and who should deal with it. On this question, space law doesn't really give answers. For the moment, the main text dates back to 1967. It is the Space Treaty edited by the United Nations. A document from the time of the Cold War which proclaims general principles like the freedom of exploration and use or non-appropriation. Nevertheless, it has no legal value. Some countries are starting to get around these principles. This is the case of the United States with the Space Act adopted in 2015. This law opens the possibility private companies to use space resources far from the principle of non-appropriation. An extraterrestrial legal debate that's just beginning and that we will have to follow with attention. In the meantime, we come to the end of our journey. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, feel free to press the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and see you very soon on Looking For. Goodbye.